She said she could never marry a man who lives in motels. I heard her say it to her college friend on speakerphone while I was standing in the hallway of her parents' house. So I walked out without my jacket and drove back to my rig. What happened next changed everything about how I see relationships. I am a 34-year-old owner-operator truck driver running long-haul freight across the Midwest and Pacific Northwest under my own company. Liberty Line Trucking. I own my rig outright, manage my own LLC, and I have been doing this for almost 8 years. I make decent money, not Wall Street money, but enough to live comfortably and reinvest in my business. I love what I do. The open road clears my head in ways nothing else can. I keep a clean rig, journal my roots, and take pride in my work. About a year ago, I met Emily at a rest stop SAF off Interstate 80. She was on a road trip with friends and we got talking. She was 29, worked as a project manager for a marketing agency in Chicago, and had this refreshing energy about her. She said she loved that I had real stories to tell, that I was not chasing some corporate ladder. We started dating long distance every few weeks. I would finish a route near Chicago and swing by. She would post pictures of us on Instagram with captions about adventure and authenticity, but I never quite fit in with her world. Her social circle was all marketing executives and consultants who called themselves digital nomads but worked from coffee shops. They would joke about travel and freedom, but it felt theoretical. I actually lived it. I tried. I showed up to her events, smiled through brand strategy conversations, and kept quiet when they made jokes about truck stops. Last month, Emily invited me to her parents' house for dinner. First time, her mom Donna is an HR director, polished and judgmental. Her dad Bill is a financial advisor, quiet but class-conscious. They live in Naperville, one of those wealthy suburbs where lawns are perfect and everyone drives German sedans. Dinner went fine. We talked about routes, logistics, fuel costs. Bill seemed interested in the business side. Donna smiled politely but kept steering conversation toward Emily's career. Right after dessert, Emily got a FaceTime from her college friend Claire, who just got engaged. Emily walked into the living room with her mom to chat. I went to grab my jacket from the hallway closet. That is when I heard it. The call was on speaker. Claire asked if I was a trucker. Emily laughed and said yes, but then added, "Don't worry though. I am not marrying a guy who lives in motels. He's just a story for now." Then her mom laughed softly and said, "Good, you have worked too hard to end up in a sleeper cab." I stood there holding my jacket. The television was playing some renovation show. I did not feel angry right away. I felt cold. I put the jacket back, walked out the front door and left. No goodbye, no scene, just left. I drove to a pilot travel center off Interstate 55 and sat in my cab for over an hour. Other drivers were sleeping or filling out logs. I stared at the dashboard trying to process what I heard. It was not just that she said it. It was how casually she said it, like I was a phase, a novelty, something to post about until someone better came along. And her mother agreed. I started my next route early. Over the next few days, I removed Emily as my emergency contact on insurance, canceled our July Nashville trip, and mailed back her things from my truck: sunglasses, a photo, a keychain that said my favorite co-pilot. No note. The text started coming. "Why did you leave without saying goodbye? Then did I do something? Then Cole, please call me." I finally replied 2 days later. "You said enough." She texted back immediately asking what I meant. I did not answer. I was outside Omaha by then, fueling up. What kept replaying was not just her words. It was that she had been performing this whole time. I thought I knew her, but she was embarrassed by me, by my job, by the very things she claimed to admire. Here is what I cannot stop thinking about if I had not overheard that conversation. How long would she have kept this up? Would she have eventually blamed distance or kept me around as her interesting boyfriend while quietly looking for someone her family approved of? I do not know if I overreacted. Maybe walking out was cowardly. Maybe I should have confronted her, but I could not be in that house anymore. I could not look at her and pretend I had not heard what I heard. And honestly, I am not sure what she could have said that would have made it better. She said what she really thought when she did not know I was listening. So now I am in a motel room in Colorado writing this. Part of me wants to block her and move on. Part of me feels like I owe her a conversation, and part of me is just tired of trying to fit into a world that looks down on what I do. Am I wrong for leaving like that? Should I have confronted her, or was hearing her truth enough? Update 1. Emily sent Arded panicking after my "you said enough" text. Messages escalated over days, first confused, then defensive, then apologetic. She kept saying her mom did not mean it. They were joking. I misunderstood. I did not respond. I was running Denver to Sacramento and needed mental space. I did not engage. 3 days after I left, her mom called me. I was fueling outside Reno when Donna's name appeared. I almost did not answer, but curiosity won. She opened with, "You know how girls talk." I let her finish. Then I said, "Madam, I heard exactly how she talks." "And you agreed?" Pause. She tried another angle. "Emily was stressed at work, says things she does not mean. I should not take it personally." I told her I took it very personally because it was about me. Then I hung up. A week later, I got an email from Bill, carefully written and redrafted. He thought I overreacted, but also that Emily admired my work ethic. Then he wrote something that stuck: "Marriage between two lifestyles like yours rarely works. I think you did the mature thing by stepping back." I did not reply, but I screenshot at it. He was not upset. I left. He was relieved. He was giving me credit for doing what he hoped I would do all along. Get out before things got serious. I threw myself into work, picked up extra routes, pushed longer hours. I keep a handwritten log in my cab for mileage and maintenance. I added a new line, miles since clarity, 2,870. Every completed route I updated it, my way of measuring distance from that dinner, from the life I thought I was building. I started planning something I had been putting off, expanding Liberty Line. I was a one-man operation hitting a ceiling. Routes I could not take because I was booked. Contracts I could not bid on because I lacked capacity. Time to focus on growth instead of heartbreak. I started looking into buying a second rig and hiring a partner driver. One night at a rest stop diner in Wyoming, late and nearly empty, a waitress named Hannah brought me coffee. She looked at my jacket logo and said, "You are Liberty Line. My brother follows your trucking blog, says you have built a good name in the industry." That hit me hard. I had started the blog years back to document routes and share tips with other owner-operators. Nothing fancy. I did not think anyone outside a small community paid attention, but apparently I had built something without realizing it. Respect from strangers who understood my work meant more than any validation from Emily or her family. We talked during her break. Her brother was thinking about getting his CDL and going into trucking. She wanted advice to pass along. We discussed the realities, good and bad. First, real conversation in weeks where I did not feel defensive. Before I left, she said people respect what you do because you do it well. Do not let anyone make you feel small for that. I thought about that over the next 100 miles. I had let Emily and her family make me feel small. I had let their judgment seep into how I saw myself, but I had built something. I owned my rig. I ran a legitimate business. I had clients who trusted me and a reputation I earned that was not nothing. Meanwhile, Emily kept trying to reach me, voicemails apologizing, wanting to talk, saying she made a mistake. I did not listen to most, but then something happened. A mutual acquaintance messaged me. Emily had posted on Instagram something vague about how some people cannot handle ambitious women. Comments were full of her friends supporting her, saying she deserved better. She was spinning this, rewriting the narrative to make herself the victim. I was the guy who could not handle her success. That confirmed what I knew. Confrontation would not have changed anything. She was never going to own what she said, so I kept driving, kept building, stopped checking her social media. But here's what I did not see coming. That expansion decision started paying off fast. I reached out to drivers I knew, guys thinking about going independent, but lacking startup capital. I offered partnership structure, drive for Liberty Line, key percentage of haul, clear path to owning their own trucks. One guy, TY, signed on immediately. Within 2 weeks, I bought a second rig and he was on the road under Liberty Line. That changed everything. I could take contracts I had been turning down, bid on higher value routes. Word started spreading. Old reputation. Liberty Line was not just me anymore. I still thought about Emily. Late at night when the road was empty, I replayed that conversation. Thought about what I could have said differently. But every time I remembered her mom's laugh, that soft, knowing laugh that said she was glad her daughter was not serious about me. That reminded me why I left, not because I was hurt, because I finally saw the truth. Update 2 first. The Emily situation took a turn. 2 weeks after my last update, one of her co-workers reached out. I did not know him well, but we had met at one of Emily's events and followed each other on social media. He messaged saying he saw my trucking account and wanted to give me a heads up. Emily had been telling people at her office that I ghosted her after she joked about my job requiring too much travel. I just replied, "I travel for a living." Guess that is the punchline. He liked the message. I think he got it. I decided not to say anything publicly. I could have corrected the record, but what would that accomplish? People who believed her version were never going to believe mine. I did not need them to. Then something strange happened. About a month after I walked out, Bill called. I did not recognize the number at first. His voice was different, nervous. His firm had a client needing help moving specialized medical equipment cross-country, temperature-controlled transport, tight deadlines, the kind requiring precision and reliability. The client heard about Liberty Line through an industry Facebook group where my blog posts had been shared. They specifically asked for me. Bill said, "Cole, small world. Our client mentioned your company. I had no idea you had grown this much." I kept my voice even. "Yeah, we keep moving." He paused. "You would be perfect for this contract. High-value premium rates for the right operator." I said, "I will bid for it through my website like anyone else." Then I hung up. I felt good about that. Not smug, not vindictive, just clear. He wanted business as usual, like nothing happened. But I was not interested in favors rooted through his guilt. If his client wanted Liberty Line, they could reach out through proper channels. 2 days later, the client contacted me directly. We negotiated terms. I submitted a bid, got the contract. One of the biggest jobs I had taken. It opened doors to other medical logistics contracts. That single haul led to 3 more over 2 months. Liberty Line was thriving. Around this time, I attended a truck expo in Kansas City. Industry event I normally would skip, but Ty convinced me, good for business, networking, getting out of my head. So I went walking through the vendor hall looking at GPS systems and fleet software. I saw her, Emily, standing near the entrance, designer sneakers, holding a coffee cup like a shield. Nervous, I knew why she was there. She had seen my expo posts on the blog and decided to show up. I thought about turning around but decided to get it over with. I walked over. She saw me coming and started talking before I could. "Cole, I am so sorry. I was stupid. My mom was pressuring me about settling down and I said what I thought she wanted to hear. I did not mean it." I looked at her for a long moment. "You were not pressured. You were honest and private." She shook her head. "I want to fix this. I miss you." You cannot patch a blown tire with PR. She started crying. I felt bad for 3 seconds, then I remembered that soft laugh, the email congratulating me for stepping back, her social media posts painting me as insecure. This apology was not about me, it was about her needing to feel like she tried. I walked away. Ty was waiting near truck displays. He muttered, "You are going to trend on her group chat for weeks." Letter. My roots do not have Wi-Fi anyway. That night I thought about what would have happened if I stayed, if I had confronted her at her parents' house, if I tried to make it work. The problem was not just what she said. She never saw me as an equal. I was interesting, different, but never someone she would introduce proudly at corporate events or her parents' country club. I was a story, a phase. No amount of apologizing would change that fundamental fact. Contract work kept coming. I hired a second driver weeks after TY, then bought a third rig. Liberty Line was now 3 trucks, and I was managing logistics instead of just driving. Overwhelming, but exactly what I needed. Building something that was mine that no one could take away. One afternoon, updating the blog with new rig photos. I got a message from Hannah, the Wyoming diner waitress. She had found the blog through her brother and had been following updates. Said she was proud of me for growing the business. Her brother just got his CDL and was starting his first route. She thanked me for the advice. We started messaging, nothing serious, just friendly updates about work and life, but it felt easy in a way things with Emily never had. Hannah understood the lifestyle. Grew up around truckers, saw the reality, did not romanticize or look down on it. Just a job, hard but respectable. She mentioned she moved into logistics coordination for a regional freight brokerage, connecting drivers with loads, managing schedules, negotiating rates. She knew the industry from inside. We kept talking. Eventually I asked if she wanted dinner next time my route brought me through Wyoming. She said yes. That dinner turned into another, then another. No social media posts, no making it official or complicated, just 2 people respecting each other's work, not needing to prove anything. Liberty Line kept thriving, medical logistics contracts kept coming, inquiries from other industries. I started looking into refrigerated transport for more opportunities. The one-man operation was becoming something bigger, sustainable. A few weeks ago at a logistics conference, I ran into one of Bill's colleagues. He recognized my company name and mentioned Bill had told him about Liberty Line. He said, "Bill said you are sharp." He said he underestimated you. I just nodded and moved on, but later sitting in my truck, I thought about that. He underestimated me. Donna underestimated me. Emily underestimated me. They assumed because I drove a truck, I was not smart enough, ambitious enough, successful enough to matter. Maybe proving them wrong should not matter at this point, but it felt satisfying. I left that house without my jacket because I could not stand being in that room. I drove away without confrontation because I knew nothing I said would change how they saw me. Now a year later, I own 3 rigs, have a growing business, and I'm dating someone who does not think my job is a punchline. Respect is not something you beg for, it is something you earn. If someone cannot give it to you, no amount of apologizing will change that. Final update: Liberty Line is now a 5-truck operation handling specialized freight across the Midwest and Pacific Northwest. Primarily medical and tech equipment requiring careful handling and precise timing. I have 4 drivers, all owner-operators in training. The partnership structure worked better than expected. They get experience, reliable income, and a path to owning their own rigs. I get dependable drivers who care about the work because they have skin in the game. Business growth was steady but not easy. Months where I barely slept, coordinating routes and managing logistics while still driving my own hauls, but it paid off. Last quarter, Liberty Line cleared more revenue than my first 3 years combined. I am not rich but comfortable. I bought a small house outside Kansas City with a big garage for working on rigs. First property I ever owned. Signing those papers felt better than any validation from Emily or her family. I kept the jacket I left at her parents' house. Sounds strange, but I finally got it back months ago. I was in the area for a delivery and texted asking if I could pick it up. She said yes. I swung by when she would not be home. Her roommate handed it to me at the door. Still smelled faintly like motor oil and her mom's expensive candles. I hung it in my closet. I look at it sometimes as a reminder not of her, but of the moment I chose myself. The moment I realized I would rather drive away than stay somewhere I was not respected. Emily and I have not spoken since the expo. I heard her agency lost a major account after internal drama. She transferred to a smaller firm, took a pay cut. I do not take pleasure in that. Her career struggles have nothing to do with me, but I noticed the irony. She was so worried about appearances, about marrying someone impressive, and her impressive career was not as stable as she thought. Donna retired early after a corporate merger downsized leadership at her company. I only know from LinkedIn, again, not my business, but it reminded me how much of their judgment was rooted in their own insecurity. They looked down on me because my job did not fit their idea of success, but their version was just as fragile. Hannah and I are still together almost 10 months now, healthiest relationship I have ever had. She coordinates logistics for a regional freight brokerage, understands the demands in a way Emily never did. We do not post about each other on social media. We do not perform for anyone. We just show up when schedules allow. That is enough. She has met Ty and the other drivers. They love her. She brings coffee to the yard when in town and talks shop like she's been part of the operation for years. Months ago, she mentioned her company was looking to partner with a reliable carrier for long-term contracts. She put Liberty Line forward after competitive bidding. We got the deal, biggest contract we ever had. Allowing me to expand further, I am looking into buying property for a proper dispatch office and maintenance facility instead of running everything out of my house and a rented garage. Last month at an industry mixer in Omaha, I ran into Bill. He was there with a client exploring logistics investments. We locked eyes across the room. For a second, I thought about walking away, but I did not need to. I was not angry anymore, not hurt, just did not care. He walked over first, extended his hand. Cole, good to see you. I have been hearing your name a lot in logistics circles. You have done well for yourself. I shook his hand. Thanks, business has been good. He hesitated. I owe you an apology. I made assumptions about you that were not fair. I nodded. I appreciate that. Then I excused myself and moved on. I did not need his apology. I did not need closure or validation that I was right. What I needed I had already built for myself. A business I was proud of. A relationship that felt real. A life that was mine. That night I posted on the Liberty Line blog for the first time in months. Wrote about growth, taking risks, building something from scratch. Did not mention Emily or her family. Did not air grievances or settle scores. Just told my story the way I wanted it told. I ended with this. She said she could never marry a man who lives in motels. I own 2 now. One is on wheels. One is in my name. Turns out dignity travels farther than approval. The responses were overwhelming. Other owner-operators reached out sharing their own stories about being underestimated. Drivers thinking about going independent asked for advice. People said they followed my journey from the beginning and were inspired to take their own leaps. That meant more than any apology from people who doubted me. I learned a lot this year. Respect is not something you negotiate or convince someone to give you. It is either there or not. Walking away from a situation that diminishes you is not weakness. It is self-preservation. People who see your value do not need convincing. They just see it. I also learned revenge is not about making someone regret losing you. It is about building a life so full and meaningful that their absence becomes irrelevant. I did not set out to prove anything to Emily or her family. I set out to build something for myself that they underestimated me was their loss, not mine. I still drive routes sometimes, even though I do not have to as much. Something grounding about being behind the wheel. The hum of the engine and endless highway reminds me why I started this, not for approval or validation, but because I love the work.